What is up, people? Freedom Instigator here. So today we're going to talk about diets. There's going to be a lot of controversy behind what I say, and there's by no means am I in a position to get into a debate. I am not trying to push my views on anyone or anything like that. I'm just trying to give another perspective outside of these fad diets and things like that. So I just want to put a little disclaimer out there. Everybody's body is different, and what works for you may not work for the next person, okay? So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. So let's dive right in. I get so many questions about what diet is best for hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, and things like that. I don't think that any diet is good for any of those things. I don't believe in diets. I think they're a fad and a marketing tool. I do believe there is, we do need to restrict certain things for a temporary amount of time, temporarily. So let's just dive right in. So let's just start with the one that I get asked about the most, which is the ketogenic diet. So the ketogenic diet, just to give you a little back history on it, they created this diet mainly for children who have epilepsy. So just an FYI, before I even get into the ketogenic diet, they had to monitor these children, their thyroid. So because it was affecting the thyroid so negatively that they really had to keep an eye on that. So while I know that there's a lot of you, even in my group or women that I talk to who swear by the ketogenic diet because, they saw that it made them lose weight or whatever. But let's just go back and see, were you eating like shit before you went into the ketogenic diet? Because if you're eating like shit and you go into any type of diet, of course you're going to lose weight and of course you're going to feel amazing. That's just science and human nature. I mean, that's what it is. So there's that. How long have you been doing the ketogenic diet? Because I assure you, you can't sustain that for years on end. It's just not, it's not wisdom to do that, to deprive yourself of a major food group, carbohydrates, because our bodies thrive off carbohydrates. Our bodies need carbohydrates. Carbs are not bad. Bad carbs are bad. There's good carbs too. So any diet that they made for children with epilepsy and how to monitor their thyroids very, very closely, that should tell you something about if you should be eating this diet while, you have a thyroid problem. Depriving your body, especially when you have an underactive thyroid, of energy, because carbohydrates are energy, depriving your body of energy and then on top of that, counting your calories or over exercising, you're depleting your already depleted thyroid of more energy that it already doesn't have. Does that make sense? So there's that. The paleo diet. If I had to pick a diet to go by, it definitely would be the paleo diet. Again, I don't think that we should be depriving ourselves of major food groups like fruit. I think that the paleo diet says not to eat fruit except for berries and stuff like that. I don't agree with that. I think that fruit is oxygen to our blood cells. It is life, literally. Carbohydrates, again, we need them. What's the next diet? Let's see. The AIP diet. I actually think that the AIP diet is great just to see what you're sensitive to. However, if you want to do things the hard way, then you go to the AIP diet. Or if you want to go get tested for what you're sensitive to food-wise, then go get the proper testing done so you don't have to take every major food group out and then add it back in to see which one you're sensitive to. It's just crazy to me. I like to take the shortcuts a little bit sometimes, or the easy way sometimes, and not deprive myself for almost a year to really, really see what I'm, sensitive to. That's just me. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me when there's a testing out there that you can go and see what you're sensitive to food-wise. So there's that. Okay, vegan, plant-based. I was a vegan for 2 years, so I can speak on this, okay? I can. I have the authority to. So I was a vegan for 2 years. I was eating like shit my entire life. So when I went plant-based, I felt amazing, of course, because again, I was eating like shit for so long. So I felt amazing. It was like the best thing I ever did at the time. It was amazing. So yeah, because I took out antibiotic fed meat and hormones and all of that stuff. So yeah, of course my body is going to lose weight and see a difference because I'm taking bad stuff out. Yeah. but it wasn't sustainable. Again, it's not sustainable. I don't think that any diet is sustainable long term. I started lacking things that I really needed, like amino acids, certain amino acids and certain vitamins like B12. And I started seeing this on testing and things like that. I started feeling weak. I started, not being able to perform properly while I was exercising. So, like I said, everybody's body is different, and I understand veganism is a touchy one for some, and this might rub some people the wrong way. But I really encourage you to take your emotions out of the conversation, and let's just look at the facts, and let's just look at what's right for your body and not what your emotions say. And I understand. So the reason why I became a vegan, first of all, in the first place, because I was seeing what they were doing to animals. I would not just for the animal's sake, but also because of health reasons, right? So I did extensive research on veganism, and I chose to go vegan. So I started seeing the way they were treating animals, the way it affected the environment. I really didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want my body to be a graveyard, all of these things. So I understand completely. I didn't want to be eating the animal's trauma, right? All that stress that animal was receiving its whole life, because let's face it, the normal, a traditional meat industry is disgusting. It's an evil place. It's an evil thing. I've seen it all. It's disgusting. And there is a special place in hell for those people. I get it. It's terrible. And I won't even go into all that, because if you're a vegan and you're watching this, you already know. So it made me very emotional. It made me very angry. It made me very passionate. I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to spend my money on that. I didn't want that inside of my body, all the animal's trauma and terror, its whole entire life, and sadness and depression. I didn't want to be consuming that, and because everything is energy. And so I didn't want to be consuming that energy in my body, which I didn't even realize that there was another way. I didn't understand because my emotions were so in the way. So once I took my emotions out of the equation, I was able to see better that there is another way to have a good process of it. And so I kind of like to go back to the Bible. I am a believer. I'm a Christian. So I like to go back to biblical times, and what does the Bible say about meat? And what does the Bible say about, properly killing an animal with respect? What does the Bible say, about cleanliness, shellfish and these things? I mean, the Jews got it right. I'm just saying. And the Muslims, they got that right with the food. I get it, and I understand it. There's a proper way to respectfully eat an animal, wildly caught fish, if you're a believer like me, there's no reason that you should be a vegan. I'm just throwing that out there. I try to use that scapegoat that, we were created vegans and it says in the word and all that. And I could go into that if you'd like and have a whole debate. Really don't want to, though. I've already done that for a few years with non-vegan people. So now I'm on the other side. So after taking my emotions out of it and really seeing that that's not sustainable either, removing major food groups from your life is just stupidity, in my opinion, on any side at all. I'm not an advocate to go eat the carnivore diet either. I think that's stupid and dumb and ridiculous too. It's just not wisdom to do that. I believe that God made food for us to eat and consume. So that includes animals, that includes plants and nuts and seeds and everything, carbohydrates and vegetables and all of these things. So I believe that's the way I believe. And once I've, in the 12 years of research that I have done personally, I've really come to the conclusion that taking out major food groups is not vitality. It's not sustainable for long-term health. We need to be eating a variety of things, not just one thing or not anything, or be so extreme on any level. And I understand that, we've been conditioned and we've been taught that extreme things need to be done. And it's just not that way anymore. It's just not that way. So I'm not a believer in being extreme on any level of any kind, whether it's restricting your calories, whether it's going into an extreme diet like ketogenic diet or veganism or the carnivore diet or, you know, AIP even. I don't think that anybody should be doing that. One, it's emotionally taxing, and every time that you fail, because you will, it just happens. It's an emotional thing. You go through this whole guilt trip within yourself, and it's not good on your mental at all. Like, even the fitness people that do fitness competitions and are eating that way, they become very ill and sick. You guys, we need to be eating when we want to eat, and not eating when we don't want to eat, and eating in abundance when we're hungry, and the right foods. I'm not talking about eating McDonald's in abundance. I'm talking about eating good quality meat, clean fish, clean plants, organic food, you know, shopping at your local farmer's market, you know, like really helping people sustain their business and things like that, like really supporting our local farmers market and buying plants. Now, do I think that a plant-based diet is great? Yes, I do. I think that eating more plant-based, less animals, yes, I actually agree that our diet should be mostly plants. So I do think that. So stop telling yourself that you have to do some extreme diet that's not going to work, and you're going to beat yourself up about it when you can't do it. And then you're just going to eat McDonald's, you know, because you're like, fuck it, I just want to, you know, like I screwed up anyway, so I'll just eat McDonald's on Friday night and then Saturday, and then I'll start on Monday, and then I'll start back on this crazy diet that's like not really sustainable for anyone. And I'll start back on Monday again, but then Monday comes around and you've been eating like shit all weekend, so you feel like shit, and Monday comes around and you're like, okay, I'll just start next Monday. It's a whole cycle of emotional bullshit that you're putting yourself through. So I don't really believe that we should be eating extreme ways at all. There's a lot of disclaimers to what I'm saying. You know, there's a lot of exceptions to certain things for a certain amount of time. In fasting, I think that fasting is amazing. You just have to be really careful with fasting if you have an adrenal fatigue problem. But I do believe that fasting is amazing. Again, biblical. So I like to kind of go back to the way our ancestors ate, and really you can see in the Bible, I mean, even in the Quran, like how we used to eat, you know, my Muslim friends and my Jewish friends and my Christian friends, you know, like there is a lot of great information that we can take from their diets. I'm just saying, like, I really think that, and eating a lot of herbs and spices and things like that, like I think that is amazing. Medicinal food, superfoods, again, that mostly come from plants. I do believe that bone broth is amazing for you. So, you know, before you get into any of these diets that's really gonna cause you harm in the long run, really do your research and just hear me out. Like, taking out a major food group is just stupid. It's just stupid. I'm sorry. Like food. I'm not talking about like sugar and bad carbs and bad oils and things like that. So, yeah. So what I do with my clients is I kind of take them on a slow and steady pace rather than losing a bunch of weight really fast. Losing weight is great, but losing weight is just icing on the cake. So when you really start to get deep down into your health, you'll start to lose the weight naturally because your body will balance itself out. As long as you're not eating foods that you're sensitive to by taking the proper test, you know, you can pretty much eat everything. And I don't think that depriving yourself of food that God put here for us to eat is wise or is wisdom on any level. Now, there is food, fake food, like, you know, they're pumping animals up with antibiotics and steroids and hormones and feeding them corn, and you're consuming the corn and the soy that's not organic, it's not grass-fed, it's not lived a beautiful life, you know. If you're gonna eat animals, like, I highly suggest that it is an animal that was raised in its natural state, grass-fed cows, grass-fed, like, pasture-raised, grass-fed, organic meat that's very, very clean, that was killed with respect, that lived a long and joyful life, because you don't want to be eating that stressed out animal that's been abused his whole life. You don't want to be a part of that, trust me. You don't want to give your money to that. That's a whole just evil situation. So there is another side to it, and I think that we can really learn the way God really taught us how to eat. Jesus fished. So those of you who are Christian that are vegans, I just want to remind you that Jesus fished. He fed people with fish. So I'm just saying, and I'm sure those fish were very, very clean, unlike they are today, where they're being dyed. They dye salmon. They put red dye in salmon. That's not normal. That's not okay on any level, not just for the fish, but for your body, because God created animals for us, not the other way around. And so he didn't create animals for us to abuse and torture, obviously, but it's kind of like the Sabbath. The Sabbath was created for us, not the other way around. And I'm talking to my Christian fellows, okay? But a lot of my following is Christian, so I'm speaking to y'all. So I just want to say that animals were created for us and not the other way around. If you're thinking about, veganism or not, or plant-based or not, I think that eating mostly plant-based is perfect. It's beautiful. I think that we should be eating mostly plant-based and, only eating meat once or twice a week. Like, I don't think that we should be eating dairy. It's a little weird. I don't eat dairy. Drinking, that much milk every day, no, I think it's a little too much. But I do eat some dairy. I eat like raw dairy that's come from in its raw state, that hasn't been, processed over and over and over and over again. So I'll eat like raw goat cheese or sheep's milk, raw sheep's cheese, do you say sheep's or sheep cheese? I don't know, someone correct me. But I do eat that. It's less heavy on the gut, especially with a thyroid problem. I do have a foods video on my YouTube and in my group and on Instagram, so you can watch that, and where I get into full detail about which foods and what foods and why and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that anybody should be depriving themselves of a major food group, whether it's carbohydrates or it's meat or it's plants, or you're depriving yourself of something that your body needs. Our body needs carbohydrates, it needs fats, it needs meat, it needs plants, it needs all of that in synergy with each other. But I do believe that plants should be the biggest thing that we're consuming the most, with a little bit of meat. That's what I think. But what do I know, right? After just doing 12 years of research, this is kind of where I've come that works the best for not just myself, but also my clients and also my friends and all the research that I've done. We're supposed to eat all food groups. We're supposed to eat food that was created for us by God, the creator. Just saying. I'm just saying. And there's a lot of animals as well that are not really clean to eat, and I wouldn't suggest eating them. There are certain animals that we should be eating, and there's certain animals that we should never be eating, like bats. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, if you like this video or it brought you any value at all, please like it, share it, comment, whatever. I definitely am not looking for a debate of any kind, so I'm not interested in doing that. I have better things to do with my life. But if you have legitimate questions, I am totally here for you. I want to help you in any way that I can, and I try to take my emotions out of it, and I'm not biased to any one thing or another. I'm just here to tell you, just eat whole foods. Just eat whole foods, okay? Just stop with this extra shit. Stop being extra. Anyway, I love you. Freedom Instigator, out.